guys and gals, and welcome to another call for help video from the team here at BlenderTech.com. If you enjoy it or learned something from the video, consider liking it and to subscribe for more Blender, Unity 3D coding, and all sorts of other CG related videos. Lastly, don't forget our motto, create your way. So a user named Cade, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, sorry, but and me have been discussing how best to create a cartoon style radio tower. Now the user sent me 3 different files. This one, which I would take as a very standard looking radio tower. This one, which seemed like maybe the first attempt, and then this one, which sound or appeared to be the most recent attempt. And so basically they wanted a model that is similar to this one but still represents a radio tower in some way, and then how to texture it in some way and have it looking decent, and I believe have it ready to be able to import into a game engine, I believe Unity. And one more thing was they wanted to keep it low poly. So yeah, around 843 faces is very low poly. I just wanted to quickly bring up in Unity, I actually have a radio tower that I use all the time that I got off the asset store right here. So if I hit maximize on play and hit play with my little character controller here, we can see it. So it's a very basic setup. It's just some basic what would you call it? Basically just some extruded cubes in a framework pattern with a few little radio receivers on top, I guess. And it's just got a basic repeating texture here. You can see it that just repeats over and over or whatever, and then the little textures for the radio deals, I believe. So that's what I would be creating, but he wanted to go for more of the cartoon style here, so I'm gonna create what I believe would be a low poly cartoony style radio tower. I'm gonna unwrap it. I'm gonna quickly make a little texture and see if we can't figure something out. Now, when keeping it low poly, you have to pay more attention to the try count, because that's going to be your final face count when you go to import it into your game engine. And also, if I tab into edit mode here and just regular solid mode, since I don't have the texture, since the user didn't enable automatically pack into .blend, yeah, curved sections definitely add more polys than any straight sections like this, so that's something to be made aware of too. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this one open as a reference. I'm gonna close these other two. So if I was gonna make a cartoony kind of radio tower that's somewhat similar to this, I think that's more sci-fi looking than cartoony, what I would probably do is create separate objects. So I would have one object for one leg, and then I would duplicate it 4 times, and I'd UV unwrap just one, and then obviously have it duplicated the 4 times, and I'd build the little top if I wanted, and I'd UV unwrap that, and these would all be separate UV maps at the time. And then if I wanted a base, maybe like a fence or something or whatever, I'd do that and UV unwrap that, and then eventually I'd join them all together and make them into a UV atlas, which I would probably go into in a later video. But yeah, how I might model this is I would probably start cubular. I'm gonna just scale this down to 1/10. And I'm going to go to top view and turn off perspective, and then I'm gonna just grab along the Z, or sorry, I'm just gonna grab and hold down control and snap it to one of these points here, something that looks reasonable. And then I would go tab into edit mode, grab the top face along the Z, say 10 units. It doesn't seem unreasonable. And then we would need to get it bent, basically. So the easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is to shear. So select the whole thing from right view, and then shear. I don't know the hotkey offhand, so shear is Shift Control Alt S, and then just give it a, I don't know, 0.25. That's too much. 0.15, 0.1. Yeah, maybe 0.1. So that gives us a nice even base and a nice even top very quickly and easily. So that's what I would do to create a base leg. And then we would need the support structures. So I would add some loop cuts in. Maybe, I don't know, just for simplicity's sake, maybe 3. Right click to confirm that, and then I would manually add in some more loop cuts to enable the geometry for them. So then I would take those faces, go back to side view, and I would extrude them right to the center line. So I'm going to extrude along the Y. And then to get this straightened out, I would just scale along the X0, scale along the Y0, and it'll straighten it right out. And so that'll allow us to work with it easier once we enable our mirror modifier. And then I do the same for these faces. So extrude along the Y. Whoops. Side view. And just roughly do it for now. Scale Y0. And then I guess we would need something at the top, but I would make that completely separate actually. And let me go back to my, so we're making a triped tower, I guess, actually. So I don't know, something interesting actually would be going to top view and select this all. And where is our origin? Not in the best of places. I would set my origin to this bottom face, like the base of the tower, basically, the leg, I guess you could call it. I would go Shift S and cursor to selected, and then tab out of edit mode and go Control Shift C, origin to 3D cursor. That'll allow us to rotate around that. So then I go to top view, hide these things, and then I would rotate it towards the center, which looks like it would be I don't know exactly how many degrees that would work out to. About 35. Oh, I see. My base is further away along the y-axis than it is along the z, so yeah, I'd actually want to rotate it 45 degrees and grab it along the y until that was in the right position, roughly around there. It looks like those two squares are lined up perfectly, and it looks like that points right along there, so that would be good. So that could make for an interesting little look. And then you could reset the origin to the center. So Shift S, cursor to center, Control Shift C, origin to 3D cursor. And so now to make it easy on ourselves, we're going to do a circular array. So we're going to grab this, we're going to add an array modifier to it. We're going to do a fixed count of 3, and instead of a relative object, we want an object offset of our... Sorry, we need to add an empty first. So with my cursor, 3D cursor still the center, I'm going to add an empty, any type, and then I'm going to go back to my leg and choose the empty as my object offset. And to make sure that this works, we need to apply the scale and location rotation. So I'm going to go Control A and apply rotation and scale and location. And then I'm simply just going to rotate the empty along the Z 120 degrees. And we now have 3 of these. And we should be able to now just edit one and take a face and grab it. Now if we grabbed it along, say, the Y, it would go all wonky, and same with the local Y. And the X and local X the same. Z and local Z doesn't do anything, so we would need to get to the center point somehow while keeping them straight. The easiest way to do that, in my opinion, would be to get them as close as possible. So I go to side view, grab along the X a bit, the top view. Now it's out of whack, so I'm gonna grab, actually I would, in top view, I would just simply grab, hold down control for snapping. I go, along the X, 1, 2, 3 units, along the Y, 1, 2, 3 units, and we're centered there. And then later on we could either edit the geometry manually, or we could just merge all the vertices after. And so that would be, my opinion, the easiest way to do that, but I'll maybe save that for the end. I'll quickly just do that to the other ones so we have something we can look at. Something roughly like that. And then yeah, we could add a base of some, or a top of some sorts, because remember this is still an array, so if we turn it off we still have the original leg, which we're going to UV unwrap manually. So just thinking out loud here, for a top we're going to want a triangle of some sort. So I would add in a plane, and I would tab into edit mode. I'd get rid of a vertice. I would fill this back in. I'd grab it along the Z and then go into some sort of side view or front view and grab with vertex snapping enabled. Grab along the Z and snap it to the top there. Then go to top view. And, oh, this is hard to see. The easiest way to do this would actually be to just add a subdivision to our leg so that we have that point right there. And then take our triangle and grab each point to that. We need an equilateral triangle, which this is not though, so that's what this will fix. So I'm going to grab and hold down control to snap to that point. And since I'm in top view, it'll only move in X and Y directions. I'm going to do the same here. Using that array, it should have propagated to all the other edges. Yeah, there we go. I think that works. Yep. Side view, yeah, that's totally flat. So that gives us some sort of base to work off of. And again, we could obviously get a lot more complex with this. I'm just going for speed. So then I would take that maybe and extrude it up a little bit or whatever, and we could maybe scale this out till it was at the edges of our object there. And again, we could do a lot more work for this. Actually, we could probably scale it up a lot more. Give it kind of that structural look, and go and grab it along the Z and line it up with the top again. There we go. Yeah, I don't know, really, I could come up with 100 different ideas and I could make a full tutorial on it, but it really depends on what exactly you're looking for. If you're looking for this, it looks like a lot of your geometry, maybe it's just me, but it looks like a lot of it's out of whack. Like, we got front view, you have all of that, right view, you have all of that. Maybe not. It just looks like some things are out, because this is orthographic view, so I shouldn't be seeing these points the way they are, in my opinion. A lot of this looks fine, but we do have some interesting geometry. I mean, it obviously looks like you created this all from, you have the original sphere here, so from an original sphere, and then you just you manipulated the geometry from there. My suggestion to you overall is to build it as separate objects. Build this sphere as a separate object. Build this tower part as a separate object. Build this part as a separate object. Build the legs as a separate object, or build one leg and just do an array like I did. Build the bases as separate objects and do the same thing, and then texture them each independently. And then afterwards I can show you how to join all those objects together and join all those textures together into a UV island, a texture island, so that you have one big texture that works over your entire model. So that you don't have to UV unwrap this entire thing. That way you only have to UV unwrap, you know, these little parts at a time and texture them however you want. So just for another quick example, let's say I was going to UV unwrap this here. It's such a simple shape. For example, I would probably just, well, let me just start a new file just for ease of use. I'll just use the cube for example. Now you can UV unwrap this the obvious way easily, the seam way obviously, but I'm just going to do a smart UV unwrap of 89 degrees since it's just a cube, which will get me more or less exactly what I need. And then I would obviously export that. Ooh, I don't even have my stuff set up in the new version yet. And then hop into whatever image editing software you use. Just gonna show you a couple more tips I was thinking of. Since it looks like you're kind of going for cartoony but almost sci-fi, it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong. Whoops. Oh, Adobe, I hate you sometimes. So I would grab a sci-fi texture. For example, I purchased the Dosh sci-fi texture set. Let me see if I can find some here. Oh, geez, I have no idea where they are right now, but I have a bunch of sci-fi textures off of CG textures and stuff, so you could do something like, let me just look here, something like this here, because it's completely tileable. We're gonna have to scale that down obviously. It looks roughly the right size. And we'd want to duplicate one for each face. Whoops, I didn't duplicate that. I'm thinking I'm in Blender. As your texture map, whatever. I'll just save this out for the heck of it. What I was gonna say, in terms of your UV layer too, you could set the line opacity to 100%. So basically, you would have let me grab the line tool here. Basically, you would have hard lines over the entire thing if you kept your UV layer. That would give it that kind of cartoony, drawn look. Just another idea. Makes more sense here if I get rid of these. I'm just gonna merge them. whatever. Anyways, yeah, the lines that when you go to export a UV layout, you can change the opacity of them, so you could make them very, very hard and thick, and you could save them over top of your texture, and then you would get, oh gosh, Adobe sometimes, I swear. And then you would have your lines overlaying on top of your texture, and that would give you that kind of drawn, cartoony look. And another thing, if you have Photoshop, or I'm sure there's something similar in GIMP, you could take your finalized texture or whatever. This, I'm talking about the diffuse texture, obviously here, and you could, well, in Photoshop it's called cutout. It gives you that kind of not so realistic looking, very cartoony looking look, depending on how you would want it. So something like that. But yeah, you could do something like this. I'm just gonna save that actually to illustrate a couple points. And then for the displacement map, oops, what I would do is, and I'm talking about all over your textures in general, not just in certain parts. There's a bunch of brush packs on the internet. I have one, I believe, called some sort of bolts or something. Yeah, rivets, whatever. And it's got all these different like bolt textures and whatever that you can use as a brush. So you could use those to create basically a cool displacement map. So this is going to be a lot larger than normal. So I'm just going to give this a medium gray overall color, so that I don't know exactly what color offhand. And Blender and Unity can treat them differently sometimes. I'm just going to give it a fill though. And then I would use obviously a lot lighter color so it sticks out, but not too light, and then go back to my brush. And yeah, you could add bolts and rivets all over. There's a bunch of great brush packs for this. And you could do all sorts of cool things like that. I'll just save that quick out. So if we go back into Blender, make a material, go into the node editor. Come on. Set up our diffuse first. So yeah, you could have that kind of whatever look over your entire thing, but what I wanted to add on is duplicate this, add another texture setup. I'm going to open up the displacement one. Let's see, can we see them? Sort of. Obviously I didn't use a bright enough color or whatever, and you'd have to play with it a bit, but yeah, you could get some cool looking you could add some more details, obviously, while keeping it extremely low poly. I mean, obviously in this case we only have 12 12 triangles, but there's obviously the texture, and then yeah, all those little bolts, and it just, the little details make up all the difference, right? So I don't know. That's just some suggestions that I had. Another one that I was thinking of too, when you go to make the legs, is to use L channels. If I get rid of these, use L channels like that, and they would be a lot easier to UV unwrap. If you did it properly, you could heat perspective mode. You could just project from view. You could just go U project from view, and then when you unwrap it, you get just that view. So then I'd go to the front view and view project from view, and you get everything. Basically, it says projected. Basically, you do one from each view, like I did in the concrete barrier one. I don't know. Like I said, I could come up with hundreds of ideas, and I could create a full radio tower tutorial if you really wanted. But yeah, it's really something that's obviously you're going for something very, very, very creative there. Totally not. I mean, I can definitely see it as a radio tower, but a radio tower to me looks more like the original Unity one. And if I was going to make it look cartoony, I would texture it cartoony rather than modeling it cartoony. This gives me more of the sci-fi feel. I don't know. Just a bunch of things for you to think about. I didn't really put a lot of thought, well, I've put some thought into this. I didn't really put a lot of effort into this. I spent all morning gaming instead. I don't even know what time it is here. Probably time for me to stop working. But anyways, hopefully that gives you some ideas and suggestions. I don't know your skill level, so continue giving me some comments and feedback, and any help you might need, and any creative input. I would suggest going to blenderartist.org and post your blends and your textures and your renders and whatever. I'm sure they'll give you lots of creative input, a heck of a lot more than one person like me could. So yeah, hopefully again that gives you a few ideas and some tips and some whatever. So anyways, thanks for watching this call for help from the team here at Blender Tech. If you enjoyed this video and learned something, please like it and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. We're on Twitter at twitter.com/blender_tech and Facebook at facebook.com/blendertechpage, all one word. If you dislike this video for some reason, and remember, this is a call for help for someone, this is just a personal video, just tell us why in a comment why you dislike the video. Don't just hit the thumbs down button and leave. Or if it's private, email us at info@blendertech.com. That way we can continually improve our videos based on community input. We also take requests for tutorials and call for helps like this. If you're having an issue, we can come up with some ideas together over and over and over throughout the days and weeks, and help you finish off a project or get through a roadblock. So anyways, see you next time. Remember, create your way.